here with author and designer Laura Poplin, and in our last segment, Laura showed us how to make some beautiful leather tiles, and this time we're going to bring it all together with chainmail. All right, so we're starting out with Byzantine weave.
That's right. I'm starting off with some 2 pairs of pliers, of course, and mine are well worn. I'm going to take 4, or first I'd like to talk about the sizes of rings. And these rings that we're going to learn on are actually 16 gauge 1/4 inch. When we finish the weave, you'll see that it's a little bit loose. And the bracelet that we're going to end up assembling at the end consists of 19 gauge wire wrapped on a 3mm mandrel. So they're very tiny rings. And
yeah, so we'll use the big ones to practice,
exactly.
Right?
The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open some rings and close some rings. And I'm going to start off with an open ring and pass it through 4 closed rings.
Okay.
And then I'm going to close the ring. Normally when I close a ring, I look at the front and I look at the top just to make sure that it's a proper closure.
You know, that's a great tip. Even if you're not going to try chainmail, at some point you're going to be using jump rings. So you want to make sure that you get them closed.
Another thing I like to do is use my magnifiers, because I've learned that if I don't, then if I go back and look at them again, I can tell the difference.
Okay, so you're putting another open ring on all 4.
Right. And I'm going to close it. And now I have a 2 by 2 by 2 chain. And I'm going to put a paper clip on the end because it's a little bit easier to hold the beginning of a chainmail weave. So now my next step is that I'm going to lay it in my hand and flip back the ring on each side. So now it looks like the top rings are on the side, and I'm going to open these current top rings, and then you can see that the former top rings are popping up, and so I'm going to take another open ring, and I'm going to show first how the open blue ring is going to go through, and you can see that it goes right through the middle rings.
Yeah, and what's nice about this is it makes a really tight weave, so you can dangle things from it and do all kinds of things. It can be a foundation.
Correct. It makes a really nice, when the chain is finished, there are lots of places where you can attach beads if you just want to dangle and have a charm bracelet or necklace. So then I'm closing the ring again. And now I'm going to add another open ring that's going to go through those same 2 rings right next to the last ring I inserted, which is blue.
That makes it easy to see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
So when you're closing a ring, you just want to keep rocking it back and forth until you hear a click.
You can tell you're work hardening the metal too.
Right. So now I'm going to add I'm going to add 1 open ring. And we'll make this one a red one. So I'm going to add 1 open ring, and then I'm going to add 2 closed rings to this one and close. And now I'm going to put an open ring through those 2 blue and then the last 2 blues that I added and close. So now you can see that I have another 2 by 2 by 2 chain that I'm working with. So I put this in my hand again and fold back the 2 top rings on each side. Now this time when I open up these middle rings again that are now the top rings, the other rings really pop through so that it's much easier this time to put the open ring through. So you close that ring and then add another open ring next to the previous ring.
Great.
You always work in twos with the Byzantine weave. And now I have a full unit of Byzantine.
All right. So how many units do we make for each section of the bracelet?
There's actually 9 sections of chainmail.
Okay.
So I'm going to turn this around, and now we're going to assemble the bracelet. I already have it partially assembled, so we're just going to add one more leather piece. So your holes are already drilled in the leather, and you just simply pass the ring through the connector type rings on the end and close it up. It's very easy.
All right.
And you've already done the hard part.
The Byzantine weave part. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's just a matter of connecting.
Are each of the, so when I ask about the units on the chainmail, is each section between each leather tile just one unit? Or is it?
Well, it's actually 2 units.
2 together, okay.
And that makes it 1/2 inch. Now, 19 gauge wire made into 3mm rings is kind of difficult to find, but you can make this bracelet using 18 gauge and 3.5mm.
Okay.
So
that's good to know.
Yeah. But if you do that, you would want your leather pieces to be a little bit bigger because your chainmail pieces would be a little bit longer.
So you can kind of size them together. Okay.
So then I'm adding one more section of chainmail on the end.
Okay. We just have a few more seconds, and I want to be sure that we get to talk a little bit about the other samples you brought.
Okay.
This necklace here is a beautiful example of how you can dangle some things from the Byzantine weave because it does have such a great structure to it. And then your other samples there are other examples of incorporating other elements with chainmail too. All right, well thanks, this is inspiring. We can all try something new. Thank you, Laura.